This is Dr. Stockdale, and I am going to go over the syllabus with you, or the main points of the syllabus. Um, so this is EDU 303. It is our summer course, and if I find little typos and that kind of thing, I will fix them as we go along. But we are meeting on Mondays at 6:30 p.m. We're not going to go past 8 o'clock. We did go right until 8 o'clock last night, but hopefully we can finish a little earlier. Please be in class. If there's something that really causes you not to be able to make it to class, then just let me know ahead of time. There's my cell phone, as always. It's also on the bottom of an email, any email that I send you. So, I'm having my morning coffee as I do this. So, excuse any noises in the background. At some point, I do hope that you will look at the Wiggins School of Education Conceptual Framework. I say that because you're expected to know that our mission, our vision, and our mission is to prepare highly qualified professionals with initiative, ingenuity, and integrity. You will be asked about those three words specifically during your teacher education program interview. So if you're getting close to that, just know you need to be able to speak to each one of those dispositions. We call those dispositions. So in this course, we are going to look at the development and behavior of the whole child from birth, conception through age 5. We are going to concentrate on the theories that have to do with growth and learning, psychomotor, social, emotional, cognitive growth. And we're going to hopefully get to see some of those theories in practice when you work with your case study child. So we prefer if you can work with a child that is maybe turning 5 at the very latest, not already 5, turning 6, or anywhere from a newborn up to age 5. If you want to look at the learner outcomes and our objectives, they are in the syllabus. I am going to go through those though. We talked about our required text. We have 2. I call them Ahola. It's really Ahola and Kovacic. And then our Charlesworth. And Charlesworth is the main, I guess, theoretical text. And the Ahola is more practical. It's going to tell you how to do what you're doing as far as observing. Please just do everything you can to make it to class. Let me know if something comes up, especially with online courses. There's a lack of connection if we don't show up, because we don't have as much time together online physically, right? So I'm not worried at all about professionalism. We all are so respectful, and you are so kind to one another that we've already begun building our community in our classroom. I do want to mention that you should be following the protocol of using, when you write an email to anyone in a professional way, that you follow the rules that are outlined in the syllabus. I don't want to spend too much time with that. We've already talked a little bit about contributing to the growth of others, and you all do a great job of that with answering each other's. That includes answering, each other's Flipgrid videos in a timely manner, and it being meaningful. Really, what I couldn't stand when I was an undergraduate and a graduate student was having to do discussion boards and respond to 2 people when I really didn't care, because I didn't know these people. And I don't want us to have busy work in this course. Our jobs are very important. Becoming teachers is just one of the ultimate privileges, actually, and I want us to do things that are worthy of our time. The academic policies are spelled out in the syllabus. Please take a minute to look at those. Academic honesty, the expectations, and in your writing, 12-point font double spaced, 12-point font double spaced. I continue to see in my other classes single-spaced work, and I want you to keep in mind my old eyes are getting old. I need double spacing so that I can see what I'm reading, and just make sure that you have edited your work, and then you've gotten somebody else to edit your work or a piece of software to edit your work. If any of you should happen to have any special needs, like an IEP or 504, you would need to let me know immediately. Okay. There's also the Title IX statement. It should also be in every syllabus that you have. Now, this is what we talked about last night. And this video, I am going to specifically talk about. Now, I know I'm going back and forth. The childhood memories video, that's spelled out. It's a paper. The flip grid is, I'm going to send you the code in my email. We've got a quiz on chapter 1, so you should be reading chapter 1. Everyone chose a theorist, and I will even remind you of your theorist in the email that I send you. You'll have the informed consent form on Blackboard. I need to add that. Week 3, you're going to be working on interview questions that you're going to send to me that you want to audio or video a parent interview. And then you've got another paper, week 3. It's going to be introducing your child to the whole group. And so just know that when you turn something in, for instance, when you turn in your week 1 childhood memories, during week 2 class, we're going to chat about those childhood memories papers. So you need to have that ready for week 2 to talk about in class. In week 2, you're going to turn in the biography of the theorist. You're going to talk about that in week 3. In week 3, you're going to turn in the introduction to the child, and you're going to talk about that in week 4. Week 4, you've got 2 observation checklist reflections due, which are, I'm just calling them OCRs simply because that means observations, checklist, and reflection. And I think that is where most of the confusion was last night. So that's really what I want to talk about. But one thing I do want to make sure that you understand is the deadline for gross motor observation checklist and reflection is June 14th. You have to have that in to get all of your 50 points. You have to turn it in on time. But I'm not going to, so I will plug in a number to show me that you've turned it in on time. But you're going to add to these as we go through our course. And when we get down to the very last week, week 8, anything you've added to these observation, to the checklist, you're not going to have to redo your observations or your reflections unless you want to. But you're going to turn in a final copy of each of these actually when your final understandings paper is due on the 5th, our last week of class. So let me just say this again. Follow these dates. You're going to have your gross motor observation checklist and reflections done June 14th. You're going to have the fine motor ones done June 14th. And I'm going to check to see, did you write an anecdotal record or anecdotal observation? Did you do as much of the checklist as you could? And did you write a reflection on what you saw? But I expect to see you continue to write on or add to dates and maybe more observations when you continue to work with this child from June 14th all the way to July 5th, because you're not going to stop looking at gross motor skills on June 14th because you've turned in the checklist. If you notice that he's doing something with gross motor skills, you're going to pull that checklist back out and you're going to add dates to it because you're going to turn it back in a final copy before July 5th. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to add right here while you're watching final copies of checklists due. I'm thinking, sorry. Final copies, sorry. I'm just going to let this keep running, y'all. We don't need a capital. Jeez. All right. This is real life, isn't it? Okay, so final copies of checklists are due July 5th. And I'm not going to grade them again, okay? But I just want you to notice that you're not going to stop, okay? You're going to go back to the Blackboard section where you entered them originally and just upload your final checklist, okay? So let's talk about those because you've got 5: gross motor, fine motor, play and social, sensory processing, and speech and language. So this happens to be speech and language. Let me see if I can pull up gross motor first. That's sensory, of course, it's the last one I'm going to get to. Gross motor. Okay. So again, so I know Jenny is working with a little girl who is about 6 months old. So when Jenny, and I'm going to use several of you as examples because you told me how old your children were that you thought you were going to observe, right? So Jenny goes in and let's say she's able to get there today, the 19th, and she observes this little girl holding her head up with a support position, meaning that someone holding her has got their fingers gently behind her head in case she drops it back, right? But she's going to put the date in here and she's going to sit down, and you could actually, when you create these documents, if you're going to print them out, you could leave space at the bottom for your anecdotal record. If you're doing them electronically, which you're going to have to send them to me electronically. That might be the way you want to do it. Leave space at the bottom for you to type. And you're going to put the date and the time that you start observing the child. And you're going to watch that child for 5, 10, I said in the syllabus no more than 15 minutes because 15 minutes you're going to be writing a lot. You're going to write down what you see and what you hear. And that's going to be your anecdotal record, okay? Then maybe you ask the mom to turn her over on her tummy, and you see her pushing off the ground with her arms. Then you go in a few days later, and you observe her rolling from front to back. I'll just put the 22nd, okay? And you do need to scroll down to the 6 months. Now, if it's got rolling over from front to back here, go ahead. You're going to want to put the same date. That's why you need to look over these before you go and observe. You need to know what you're looking for, right? And say a few weeks go by and now it's, I don't know, July the 1st. Hang on just a minute. Let me back up. So you go in and observe a lot, and you've got other checklists that you're looking at. You're checking the child's fine motor, sensory motor. So you might For speech here, Jenny notices that the child is, I think this is a PDF, so I'm not going to be able to work on it. But she would put in this box the date when she notices the child attending to sounds. Over at the, let me go up to the top. Over at the sensory processing checklist, she notices the child on that very first day that she goes in, that the child is tracking objects with eyes. So she's going to put that date, okay? She's going to really take time to look at how the child is sucking and swallowing and breathing. And at 6 months, I can't imagine that the child is not doing this. Because closer to newborn, you're going to have to really, it's a little bit more difficult to observe these the younger that they are. But so some of the questions, so maybe Jenny goes today and she doesn't think about asking the mom about the sleep patterns. That might be a good question for an interview question to find that out. If you don't ever see the child cry while you're there with her, then you might want to ask the mom, does she cry when she's hungry? Have you noticed her crying? Is she afraid of anything? Or what other times, what do you notice her crying about? Have you figured out, what she's crying about? And so maybe she asked this question of the mom, because you might not observe it, and she's going to put that date there. So I'm saying all this because now it is June 14th, and the gross motor development checklist is due. You've got an anecdotal record at the bottom of this page where you sat one time and you watched this child, and you've written a paragraph basically of what you saw and what you heard during this short observation time of 5 to 15 minutes. And now, because this paper's due, you're going to sit down and you're going to look at just the gross motor skills, and you're going to write a reflection. And your reflection is going to have those reflective statements, those I statements. I was a little nervous going in to work with this child because I've never had experience working with a young baby. I was surprised that she was able to hold her head up erect for so long in a support position, because I thought that young children couldn't hold their head up that soon. She seemed very strong when she pushed off from the ground. This is where you can be judgmental. This is where you can add your opinions, your thoughts, and your thinking. So the gross motor development checklist has 3 parts. Each of the checklists have 3 parts. You have the dates when you observed what you were looking for. You have an anecdotal record of one snapshot time you looked for gross motor skill development, and then you have a reflection. And you turn all that in on June 14th. Well, let's say that Jenny goes back on June 15th. She's not going to leave this gross motor checklist at her house. She's going to bring it with her, because now it's June 15th, and for the first time ever, she notices that this little baby is crawling on her belly. And she is getting up. Well, first she'd be getting up on all fours before maybe not. And then she's getting up on all fours. You're going to continue to make dates on gross motor development all the way up until it is due July 5th. Because what I want week 7 on July 5th is all of the checklists, only the checklist. No more observations, no more anecdotal records, no more reflections. Just the checklists to see if you were able to notice any more of the characteristics on these forms. I know that I didn't set this up so that you could see me because you really don't want to see me. And all I've been doing is talking through this, but I hope that it has been helpful. So I'm going to stop this video so that you can kind of digest what I've said. And I really, really want you to get back with me about the expectations of the gross motor, fine motor, play and social, sensory processing, and speech language checklists, observations, checklists, and reflections. Okay? Please let me know what your questions are so we can at least understand that component of this course. Take care.